Hello everybody, this is Gregory with 5 Minute Catholic Apologetics, where 5 minutes of your time may get you to the divine. Today we're going to talk about how Catholic matrimony and all matrimony is exceedingly hard, especially today in the 21st century. Now before we begin, let's start with a prayer. Nomine Patris et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen. Gloria et Patri et Filii et Spiritui Sancto, sicut erat in principio et nunc et semper et secula seculorum. I did quite a lot of dating marriage episodes early in this channel. I do have a playlist here, and I'll put the playlist later in the banner notes about the issues with matrimony today. Some of the episodes I did was how romanticism destroyed Catholic matrimony. I have episodes here on should Catholics marry non-Catholics, and even an episode on if Catholic men should marry Catholic women who contracept. But I think in general, marriage is under attack. I don't think this is exceedingly revelatory in any way, shape, or form. And look, we can blame a host of reasons: infiltration of the cultural Marxists, the fact that we've largely as a society turned our back on God, the advent of no-fault divorce. So before no-fault divorce, and it was first rolled out in California by the staunch conservative Ronald Reagan, you had to have just grounds for a divorce, to prove just grounds. And now, after no-fault divorce, I could sneeze the wrong way and get divorced. And so that's led to an exodus of divorce. And I've mentioned this before, whereas prior with fault divorce, it was men that largely initiated the divorce, like in the 50s and 60s, mostly because they just wanted the younger woman. And so as a compensation, so to speak, the first wife would get the children and then alimony, because women as a whole didn't work back then. And so that was kind of like, I'm being a cad and exchanging the older woman for the younger. So as a compensation, you're going to be taken care of. Then what happened with the rollout of no-fault divorce is it's flipped. Women initiate divorce 70% of the time. And in fact, if the woman is college educated in a marriage, 90% of the time she initiates it. So it's flipped, and there's different reasons as to why this could be. Maybe women were unhappy for a long time and now they have an easy out. Also, I would say perhaps cynically that if there's a contract that exists that whoever breaks it gets to financially benefit from it, then you're going to see more people doing it. And as a whole, given the fact that women marry men who make more money than them typically, when a woman initiates divorce, she's going to be getting half the assets. In most states, they just divide the assets in half, plus you get perhaps alimony if you live in a certain state, and then child support. So there is a financial almost incentive or remuneration for initiating divorce. So I think that plays a role with it. I think the advent of social media and narcissism increasing, I think that plays a role with it. But either way, I think that even if you're the most trad-cath or trad-con, because this video certainly can apply to all Christians, and really all atheists, all humans, but let's say just for the trad-cath, even if you're the most trad-cath of trad-caths, secular ideas and secular pollutants have seeped into our mind, even if we don't even notice it and we don't think we have. You know what they say about you drop like a little drop of ink into water, it vitiates the entire water? It's kind of the same thing here. So we could all identify as practicing Catholics or practicing the best that we can and try to adhere to the biblical and church view of matrimony. But I think we all carry some of this secular detritus that is lingered, almost like a demon that is in us that doesn't always manifest itself, but it does on occasion. And I think this is problematic because we know that the cultural Marxists have pitted the sexes against each other, whereas in the past that was not the case. And as they pitted the classes and the races against each other, they've done it with the sexes. So a lot of men are confused. Like they want to be the leader, they want to be the biblical head, but then they lots of times aren't masculine enough or strong enough to do it, because we see the effeminization of the man, the pussification of the man. A lot of this is through television. Think of Homer Simpson. And on the flip side, you see the masculinization of the woman, where you see them even getting muscles and tattoos and taking on a more masculine role. And so as a whole, the women don't like the effeminizing man, and then the man doesn't like the masculinizing woman. And then it's like, whose role is it to do this? Whose role is it to do that? And you see this certainly played out in secular couples. We know that the couples that don't adhere to traditional gender norms do have a higher rate of divorce. Secular or Christian couples. We know that there was a study out of Sweden, men who do more chores in the house have a higher rate of divorce. We know the classic study about cohabiting before you get married, you have a higher rate of divorce. But there's just a lot of confusion. Should I open the door? Should I not open the door? Should I pay for the first meal? Should I not pay for the first meal? And then even if you get some women who say that they adhere to traditional marriage, then when you try to assert that, I'm the leader, of course we'll listen to your input and we complement each other, but ultimately there only can be one commander-in-chief, one principal at a school. And I assert my authority, then the woman who says that she adheres to traditional norms might balk at that. And so you see that, and then the man's like, well, but I thought this is what you wanted. And then she's like, I don't know. Or lots of times the woman thinks that the man is going to be the leader, but then he balks because maybe he's not comfortable with that position. Then the woman gets angry because she thought that he was going to be more masculine, and women as a whole, there are exceptions, don't want to take on leadership positions. They want the man to do it. And so when they're forced to do it, they get resentful because that's not necessarily their strength, is to make big decisions. That's what they expected the man to do, but the man is relinquishing his prerogative and responsibility. So you see that resentment. And then there's just a whole lot of things, like going back to romanticism, right? I'm marrying you because I feel the pitter patter. What happens if the pitter patter is gone? I'm going to divorce you, especially now when both sexes can do it so easily and there is a financial incentive for that. So you see that as a problem. And I think a lot of it just goes back to how we don't have the centuries-old view of marriage. Being in love or having a love match is a bonus. But when a couple marries, it's understood, or at least it used to be understood, this is the inviolability of marriage. This act is indissoluble. We are together forever, no matter what. So even if you don't like the way I'm losing my hair, or you're getting chubby, or we get on each other's nerves, it doesn't matter. You find a way to work it out. And back in the day, there were checks and balances to the opposite, or I can just leave. There was a stigma for divorce. There was certainly a stigma for abandonment if the woman were to walk out, or if the man were to walk out. There were certainly checks put in place for, let's say, the more solipsistic, emotional-based instincts that some women have, that if they were to act up, the man had a lot of different tools at his disposal to kind of keep her in line, even to the point of sending her to a convent and so forth. And I'm not necessarily condoning those things. What I'm saying is that men were more masculine and society reinforced that. Women were more feminine and society reinforced that. And everybody looked down on fornication. Think of the Scarlet Letter. But everyone looked down on fornication or anything that would undermine marriage, and society didn't support that. Now we live in a world where every vice is a virtue and every virtue is a vice. We live in a secular world where family values are looked down upon and seen as anarchic. Anachronistic, not anarchic. The other side wants marriage to be anarchical, because look, if you look at just leftist writings, going back to Adam Weishaupt, but certainly going with Marx and Lenin and Gramsci, these guys want to destroy the family unit. They want to destroy religion, and they want you to worship the state, but they also want to destroy private property and destroy the family. So it's not surprising that the cultural Marxists, the Gramscian Marxists, have put all these things in place to confuse us. And so the typical American man and woman are lost. And even if they have the truest intentions to make a marriage work, there's so much that's attacking them. Some of them they see and they can dodge them, like Neo in the Matrix, and some of them they don't see, like I talked about with that one ink drop polluting the water. I, along with every man, has some sort of pollutant in us, that we've inherited these secularist values, and same for women. And worst is, even if you have the intention and your spouse has the intention to have an indissoluble marriage and to try to adhere to the biblical kind of views of marriage, we live in a court system that is very secular and very anti-family. And we certainly live in a judicial system and academia and social media and television. All these things are against us. So in closing, gird your loins, or like it says in the Bible, like if you're married, understand you made a vow. And you gotta stick to that vow no matter how hard. You can go through months, if not years, of not liking or loving your spouse, but you gotta stick it through. And no matter what, if society is telling you otherwise, you gotta stick it through. Guys, post in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Hit the notification, subscribe, and share button. Until next time, take care, God bless, and pray.